Latinos in Clinical Researchers. Thank you so much for being here in today's webinar. It is our second of the series for career pathways. This is so that you can get to know the co-founders of Latinos in Clinical Research and their career pathways. And as we continue to go, we will start grabbing more and more individuals, members, as well as people that we've met have really amazing backgrounds and stories so that you understand and know that, there's not just one way or two ways or three ways. There's multiple ways in this industry. So let's go ahead and introduce the co-founder, Judy Galindo. Judy, so give us a little background, how you started, where you're at right now, etc.
Yeah, so I started in clinical research about 17 years ago as a research assistant when I was in college. I think my third year, I responded to an ad on Craigslist for a research assistant position for a sleep disorders research clinic in Mira Mesa. I responded, I got interviewed. I didn't know what it was about, but they hired me. And I actually had to go into the office a few hours during the week, certain days of the week at night, I think like after 5 o'clock, to administer questionnaires to our patients that would stay the night for the overnight visits for the sleep studies. Very basic questionnaires. I think I would have to do like vital signs and a few other basic things. So I would work along with the sleep techs that worked at night, just go in a few hours, do that, and then go back and then do that a few days a week. And then eventually I moved into help create a call center. They didn't have a call center. At that time, 17 years ago, sleep disorder research study was huge. So we were always busy. We had a bunch of studies going on, a bunch of patients. So there was always patients coming in for sleep visits. It was usually 2 nights in a row they had to do, or sometimes 3 nights in a row. So we were always pre-screening patients over the phone, but they never had an official like a call center set up. So I helped set that up. We hired more staff. I worked in that for a bit. And then I moved into a research assistant position, assisting the study coordinators. So whatever they needed help with, I would help with. I became familiar with creating source docs. So they called me the source doc queen because I would create the source docs for all the new studies that we would start. And I did that for a while until I finally started getting more training on becoming a study coordinator. And then eventually I became study coordinator with my own studies. And then eventually I also was sent to other locations we had. So there was a few locations in the LA area, one in San Francisco, and then I think in Fountain Valley. And so I would actually go and help other coordinators out with anything they needed, whether it was source documents, assisting with data entry and stuff like that. So at that same time when I was a coordinator, I was also kind of training to be a manager, because they would send me, and I actually offered, I was the one like, I want to go because I want to learn all this stuff and I want to keep, advancing in clinical research. And then the last position I had within the company was for an office in El Centro that they were trying to set up a research center with a sleep doctor that actually worked in San Diego, but he had his private office in El Centro. And so they actually opened a research center, and I would go down there and help the coordinators out. That only lasted for, I think, a few years. It didn't really go anywhere. And then at that time, we actually, there were some investors that were looking to buy the research center, and they actually did. And then after that, things changed, just the whole atmosphere, the type of studies we did. We weren't as busy at that time. And I actually wanted to move up. I was ready. I felt I had done everything I could do at that company. I wanted to be a manager. I actually wanted to manage one of the other sites. I didn't get that position. And I think that's when I realized that, I think it was time for me to move on. I'm very thankful for that research center, because that's where I learned everything about clinical research over several years. I had a lot of support. My coworkers were amazing. It's just everything that I have, like I know now, I learned from that research center. So I think my next step after that was like, maybe I should be a monitor. So after I left that company, I actually went to apply to a few CROs. And I actually do remember getting an interview with PPD, but I didn't. After going through
your favorite company, Matt.
Yeah.
But at that time, I think they offered me a position, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to jump into this. You know, I had just graduated college, and I was like, I don't know, am I ready to be a monitor? Because I knew, you know, you had to travel, you were going to be all over the place. I didn't have kids. I was single at that time, so I could have done it, but I felt like there was more I wanted to do at a clinical research site level. Like I wasn't ready to take that jump. So I actually reached out to one of the doctors that we used to subcontract with at the El Centro office, and he was a psychiatrist, and I asked him for a letter of recommendation because I was, you know, looking to go into something else in clinical research. And when he found that out, he was like, hey, I want you to come down and meet with me and another doctor. We want to open a research center. And so that's how Sun Valley Research Center started 13 years ago.
That's
wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of not, I mean, I guess I didn't know what I was expecting at that time. So I knew everything that I knew from research, but not actually running it. I've never done all that part. Setting up a research center was all new to me. So I took the chance because I didn't really have anything else going on. I mean, either I was going to go be a monitor or I was going to go work for another research center, or I could do this, start this research center. And so I did. And for a few years, you know, it was like getting the research center set up. What equipment do we need? All the, you know, licenses, insurance, whatever things you need to do, plus the whole business development. Like, how are we going to get sites? And I mean, how are we going to get research studies? And how are we're going to get noticed as a site? We did reach out. Like, I reached out to a few people I knew in clinical research at that time. And that we also worked with, I guess you can say, a study broker of the first couple of years who actually referred a few studies to us. And that's how we kind of started getting busy and getting noticed. After a few years, we just kind of started getting studies on our own, repeat studies with CROs and sponsors. And then from there, it just grew, all in psychiatry, mostly psychiatry, some CNS. And then it started with me. We actually took one of the staff from one of our doctors' private practice to work with us in research. She was really interested. So she's actually one of the coordinators I've had the longest. She's still with us to this day. And then we hired other staff over the years and trained them. But everybody had to be trained. There's no clinical research trainings or centers at that time in that area. So it was still new to everybody, still new today. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So now I oversee this research center, make sure, you know, everyone's doing their job, that we have all these studies going on, that we're recruiting, that, you know, are we reaching out to the community to find our patients? Are we collaborating? Like everything. I'm in charge of everything.